ברוכים הבאים לפשוט נדל"ן, אנחנו היום בראיון מיוחד ביוון, וזה חלק מהסדרה שאנחנו נעשה, שמתחברת לשאר הפרקים שכבר עשינו. אני עכשיו אחליף את השפה לאנגלית, כי איתי נמצאת דימיטריה, שתציג את עצמה עוד שנייה. So, welcome to פשוט נדל"ן podcast.
Nice to find you.
Yeah. Where we're going to explain about the real estate market in Greece. So let's hear you. Who are you, Dimit? And first of all, we know each other for a really long time. Like,
it's true. We've been working since a long time ago.
Yeah, something like 6 years, yes. I think, something like this.
You were one of the first to come in Greece when investors came to find a second chance here.
Yeah, so I'm happy that we are still in touch, and I would like to ask you a few questions about your perspective, but first introduce yourself so the audience can know you.
Okay, so I studied law in Greece and Italy, and I practiced law here for the last 20 years. And last 10 years, I run my own office, and we specialize on real estate law, acquisition, dispositions, leases, and everything regarding the real estate. And given the complexity of the real estate transactions, we also work with other professionals as a law office, meaning we have our notaries, engineers, contractors, broker and bank experts, tax advisors.
So like almost one-stop shop.
Yes, in order to offer to our clients a full package, because investing from abroad can be a complex and difficult procedure. So we're trying to reassure them that everything will go easily and with the best team that one can offer.
Perfect. And most of your clients are from abroad or local also?
We have locals, of course, but we have clients from Europe, Australia, United States, and of course, Israel. We have a strong connection, and we have built a strong bridge with Israel. We have a great network there, great clients, and finally great friends as well.
So how you explain this connection? Like, what the difference between the Israeli investor and American investor?
Well, Israelis have the same mentality with us.
Yeah.
And I think that it's in your philosophy to do good work and find good trades. Mm-hmm. So I think that it's easy with Israelis because you know what you are looking for, you are prepared, mm-hmm. You know what you want, and you are looking for it, and you demand also good services. So it makes it easy for us. We have good terms with each other.
Nice. I like it. I'm surprised that you said it, because I had a feeling that the Israelis was more confused than
they're not
others.
Confused. They're demanding.
Yeah. Okay.
They're demanding. Yes. But this could make a transaction easy because you know what you want, and it makes it easy for us to seek answers on your questions.
How do you make the first connection with the Israelis? Like, how do you end up working with Israelis?
Well, it's. With you, it goes from mouth to mouth. We had since 2006. I were working with a colleague, a lawyer in Israel, and we still work together. So she was the first connection for me with Israelis, and from her and her clients, from mouth to mouth, we have a good network. Brokers that have other clients, individual clients, enterprises.
Nice.
It's getting nice, yes.
All right. So let's dig into the Greek market.
Okay.
So let's start with the bigger picture. What do you think is the current situation? Is it good to come and invest in Greece right now? Athens, other places? Mm-hmm. What's your perspective on this?
I think it's a very good period of time. If you look back on 2016, it's the first wave of foreigner investors, and mostly Israelis. They were looking for low-cost properties to invest. They were renovating and reselling. They were more interested in flipping properties for profit. Later on, this philosophy changed. They were seeking for properties, either holiday houses for them to come after their retirement, or many of them to move permanently in Greece and live with their families. And nowadays, and mostly due to the situation in Israel, also the picture changed. Many of them are seeking a golden visa. So they are investing in other kind of properties. They're investing in buildings.
Wait a minute. What is the golden visa? What is it all about?
Well, golden visa gives a person that is not European the opportunity to live in a country, in the country from which he will obtain the golden visa for 5 years without any restrictions. He will live as a local. And also gives him the right to travel within Europe without the need of a visa. He can stay in other European countries for a period of time of 3 months. And then if he wants to stay there, he will need also to file for a visa in the specific country according to their laws. But if someone obtains a golden visa in Greece, he can stay for 5 years and then renew it if the requirements are the same. Due to the difficult situation in Israel now, the insecurity that many Israelis feel, they start looking for this opportunity to be able to live in Europe and mostly in Greece for 5 years without any fears that they need to go back.
Yeah. In my perspective, like when I was working here something like 5 years ago, it was the only thing that the Russian were doing and the Chinese.
Yes.
Yes. So it's now changed. You feel that which country is now seeking for it? Or still the
Russian and the Chinese are still seeking golden visa. It hasn't changed the situation there. But a plus now is the Israeli market.
All right. So what do we need to do in order to get this visa?
You need to have a property in Greece. Unfortunately, I'm not sure if it's unfortunately, we will see, but on April they changed the limits on the value of the properties, meaning in Athens, in Thessaloniki, Mykonos, Santorini, you need to obtain a property that worth 800,000 euros. It will be more than 120 square meters, and you won't be able to use it as Airbnb.
Wow,
that's a problem, unfortunately.
Okay.
In the rest of Greece, you can get a property for 400,000 euros. We have these two limits on the value of the properties. But I think it's still a good choice regarding other countries of Europe. I think it's still the cheapest golden visa.
Yeah, even cheaper than the Cyprus. I thought it might be the same. Or,
yes.
I'm not sure. Okay, we can check it.
Yeah.
But anyway, okay. As I know, the prices in Athens, most of the property doesn't cost so much. So you can buy a few properties together.
Unfortunately, not with the new law. You need to invest only in one property. So this is changing a little bit the market, because in the last years you could buy small properties, very expensive. Now the investor changed a little bit the way they see and their perspective on investing, meaning they're not seeking to buy properties only in the center of Athens. They prefer to invest money in a worthy property. They're not seeking small properties, small flats, just to invest or just to get a golden visa. This is something that also Chinese were doing back in 2016. They were buying basements for 250,000 euros, which is crazy.
Yeah.
Nowadays, the market has balance, meaning you can find properties that are worth this kind of money.
Okay. And do you know something about the mortgage situation now in Greece? Or does something change also? Or
for foreigners, you mean?
Yes.
It's a very very difficult problem. This one, I think that the last 6 months, there is one of the 4 big banks that changed a little bit its philosophy towards foreigners. So they're trying to open this market also, and to be able to give mortgages without collateral. This was an option from the beginning, but I think that nobody wants to froze their money just to get a property here. Mm-hmm. So nowadays, I think that one of the banks are starting to give possibilities to foreigners.
But the locals can get the mortgage now easily?
Yes, yeah? yes.
All right.
Yes.
This is also good news, right? It wasn't like this a few years ago.
Yes, because now we have a strong economy, so things started to work again in good terms.
All right. Good news, I guess.
Yes.
All right. Can you tell us about the process of buying an apartment in Greece? Like what the steps and the taxes that we will need to pay, step by step, let's say it like this.
So first of all, you need a person who wants to buy property in Greece needs to get in touch with a broker, check properties. And the moment he realizes and he finds a property that he wants, the lawyer gets in touch with the seller. So it's very important to have the correct team to work with you. Very important step is to complete the due diligence, meaning to check the legal status of the property. This is done with the physical presence of a lawyer only I think it's known to you as a taboo. Here it's called the registry land office.
Also easy.
Yes. So we check there the property, meaning we need to go back up to the construction year of the property and even some years back, yes. And there is a contract that is registered and called the Horizontal Act of the Property. And this concerns all the buildings, all the properties. So we need to check from the building time until today if the description of all the contracts registered in the taboo is the same. No modifications are allowed if they're not done with the correct way. Permit and a notarial deed. So we're checking the description of the property that needs to be exactly the same through all the contracts that are registered. We make sure that all ownerships are also registered, meaning that there is not a gap between the years of ownership. And also make sure if there are any debts on the property, seizures, mortgages. If we find some, it's a problem that can be solved sometimes. So we need to make sure that everything is in legal order in order to give the green light to proceed with the purchase. The second step is to sign a private agreement with the seller, representing the buyer. This private agreement has the main terms of the final contract, meaning the contracting parties, the agreed purchase price, the agreed down payment amount, and the deadline for signing the final contract. Very important is for the client to issue a tax number in Greece, meaning he needs to be registered to the tax office. No one can owe a property without having a tax number. And it's also, fortunately, I don't know, it's a necessary step in order to be able to manage your property and pay your taxes to the Greek state, also to have a Greek bank account. So we facilitate our clients during this procedure.
It's mandatory or? Yeah.
It's not mandatory, but you will have problems to pay your taxes because for some taxes, it's not possible to pay from abroad if you don't have a Greek bank account. They're trying to change it as well. They're trying to open the system also for foreigner banks. But for now, sometimes it's necessary to do so because also transactions to the cashier in the banks are not allowed anymore. You need to do everything online.
Yeah.
So it's
better to open a bank account. I would say that it's not have to be before the purchase. Sometimes you can do it after, right?
It is, but in this case, you need to have an agreement with your seller that he will accept the payment from abroad.
Yeah.
Yes. And in this
case, make it a little bit complicated, but I guess if you have a limited time, you can do it after you buy the property, and you can come back and do it easily, not in a rush.
Yeah.
Okay. Can you tell us about the prices of this whole process? It sounds like really expensive process, but let's say in general, I would guess the average apartment in Athens will cost something like 100,000 euros, right?
Yes.
And how much money do I need to pay for the whole process to be finished by you? And also if you know the prices of the other steps on the way.
Okay, let's say from a property is more than 100,000 euros, usually lawyers work with a percentage. It's from 1.5% usually. Then the other expenses is the purchase tax that it's always paid a couple of days before signing the final contract, because it's, let's say, an approval from the part of the state that they acknowledge the procedure, and as a buyer, you can sign the contract. This percentage is 3.09% on the property value. Here in Greece, we have two values. We have the market value, it's the price that the parties agreed on, and the objective value, it's the minimum value of the property that the state can accept.
Who is the one who charged to say what is the price of the country? Like
it's the tax authority. Yes, the tax authority is the state.
Is it updated, or can be completely different?
They are updated. I think they changed it last year. They're looking into it, but I can tell you that most of the times this value is less than the value agreed between the parties. So
it's better to pay according to their price?
You cannot, because unfortunately...
They take the higher one?
Yes. The state never loses.
But it can be, sometimes it's like, at least we know how much we should pay or something like this. It's like, I would say it in Hebrew, it's like shamaut, some kind of person that come from the bank to say how much mortgage you can pay. So it's also different. Okay. So we pay 3%.
3.09% on the higher amount on the
Okay, this
value.
is mס רכישה, I would say it in Hebrew. Okay, and also 1.5% for the lawyer.
But it's not a fixed price, but it's approximately. Then you need also the notary public, because here in Greece, a lawyer cannot draft a contract. So the contract needs to be signed before a notary public. So the fees there is also between 1.5 to 2% on the value. Then you have to pay the registration of the contract to the taboo, the land registry office, also the cadastre, because we have electronically the taboo nowadays in some areas. So the expenses there is also in percentage. In the public land registry is 0.475% also on the property value. And the cadastre, the electronic office, it's either of them, not both of them, 0.575%. So
let's keep it simple just for the audience to understand. Something like 0.5% for land
for the registration.
Yeah.
Then also you have the broker fees upon agreement. Usually it's 2% on the agreed price.
Yeah, this is the same in Israel. 2% is common in Israel too.
So these are the main expenses during the procedure. Also, what we advise our clients to do, because it's not mandatory or from the part of the buyer, is to have a technical checking on the property.
Like an engineer that come and check everything?
Yes.
Okay.
The seller is obligated by law to have an engineer check his property and issue a certificate.
Yeah.
Just to be sure, we advise our clients to have their own engineer that they trust, to double check the other side.
This is different from Israel, because in Israel it's not mandatory, but also when I buy an apartment in Israel, I also advise it too. And how much should it be?
So the cost is not high for such a checking. It's between 150 to 200 euros. It's not...
All right. So let's say if I'll buy an apartment for 1,000 100,000 euros. It should be around 7,000 if I calculate it right. Other expenses rather than the price of the apartment.
Yes.
Also, it's important to say that here it's most of the time you pay in advance. You pay something like a down payment. That it's not common in Israel. So can you explain about it a bit?
It's a long history here in Greece. We sign a private agreement to give a down payment and bond, let's say, the parties on the agreement. Usually, we don't allow our clients to give more than 2,000 euros with a private agreement, because if something goes wrong and the seller doesn't want to return this money, you need to go to courts to claim this money.
Which is not fun.
It's not fun. It takes time and a lot of expenses, and it's not a good experience, I can tell you for sure. If, on the other hand, the seller insists on getting a higher down payment, then we have a notarial deed, a notarial pre-contract, which is, let's say, it has the same context with the final contract and can reassure, because it's a public document, so it can reassure that you will be able to execute it. You won't have to go to courts to get a judicial decision. You can execute this contract, get in an auction the property and claim your money back.
I see.
So, and the problem, I think, that what is different from Israel is that even if you sign a private agreement, let's say it's not exactly that you won't for sure the seller. He can change his mind even the last minute. Mm-hmm. It doesn't happen often, but
it can happen.
It can happen, yes, it can happen.
Okay, so let's brief it really quickly. So, if I already have the property that I would like to buy, first thing first, what's going to happen? And then step by step, do it really quickly without the price.
First, the due diligence, meaning the legal check of the property, issuing a tax number for the client, having the technical check of the property with an engineer, opening a bank account if he wants to, checking all the documents that the seller needs to provide from the lawyer and the notary. The notary, have in mind that it's always a choice of the buyer, paying the purchase tax and reaching the final contract.
Well, and where enter the down payment?
After the due diligence is completed.
I see.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So now we have the full picture of how to buy an apartment in Greek. Can you tell us about difficult situation that you find yourself with Israeli investors and questions, and like what the common question that Israeli have?
Well, it's not that it's something that Israeli especially have. I think all investors have the same fears. It's very difficult to invest from abroad and feel that you don't have the control on things. So we are trying to take it step by step, being in contact with our client during all the procedure, explaining them exactly what happens. From most of our clients, we work with the power of attorney, meaning the procedure from A to Z can be done without the physical presence of the client. But we want them to feel like they are here by our side. So we communicate with them, we get their approval before any action, and we're trying to make it as simple as possible for them to understand. So if they know, they don't feel the risk, they don't feel frightened, and they feel reassured that they can proceed and reach the final contract. So I think it's not that Israelis have special requests or special fears. It's for all investors the same.
You recommend to investors to come to be in the date of the signing, or it's not mandatory?
I think that it's more of a psychological. Okay. We can do that without the present. I mean, if we have access to the bank account, we can sign the contract, we can make the registration. It's not mandatory for someone to be here.
I would say that from my experience, I never been, or maybe once I've been in the contract signing.
Yeah, it's true that we have very few clients that wanted to be here, but it's always our pleasure to have them with our side.
Can you tell us about the day that we would like to sell it, like the taxes that we need to pay and the procedure with us when we want to sell the apartment.
Well, it's not a difficult situation. As a seller, you don't pay any taxes. It's only the buyer who needs to pay the purchase tax.
Which is really big news in Israel, because in Israel we need to pay 25% of the profit. Yeah.
We don't have it here. I mean, the government, we had it, but the government decided to put it on hold. So the seller for now doesn't pay anything. The only obligation is to collect the documentation from the tax authority, from the taboo, from the engineer, and to provide them for checking to the notary.
So there's no mas rechisha for the Israelis, but what we need to pay in order to sell the apartment? First of all, of course, the broker again. And the lawyer? The law is the same price as the
it depends. 1.5? It depends. It depends.
Okay.
And the engineer, because he will need to issue the certificate, and all. In order to get the certificates from the state, you need to have paid all the bills and the taxes during the years that you had it in your ownership.
And also, this is it.
This is the obligation. There's no extra tax regarding the selling.
And regarding the time that I'm holding the property, is the tenant should pay everything, the electricity.
If the property is rented, is upon the agreement. Yeah. You agreed with your tenant to pay.
But what is common? Like
here is mostly. The tenant is obligated to pay all the expenses of the property, water bill, electricity bill, and common expenses of the building. Mm-hmm. The taxes, meaning the income tax or the property tax, are upon the owner to pay.
So this is something new for Israel, because we don't have it in Israel most of the time.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, up to 12,000 euros per year. It's 15% on the income, the tax.
And doesn't matter if it's Airbnb or just long term?
It has to do with the income. If it's up to 12,000 euros, then you work with 15% tax. If you get more, from 12,000 euros to 35,000 euros, it's 35%.
Wow.
And for more than 35,000 euros per year, it's 45% the income tax.
All right. This is something big.
Yes. So if you reach this kind of income, then you might need to consider having a company managing the property, because in a company
you pay that.
We have a 22% tax fixed. So it depends on the investment and how you want to work. So.
And also you have another tax that we don't have in Israel, which is a property tax, like you pay once a year. Can you tell us about it a bit?
So it's calculated by the government. It has to do with they make under consideration some requirements, meaning the neighborhood, how old is the property, if it's in a street or it's in the back. It depends. It's not a very high amount. It's not.
For example, my property tax is something like 200 euros per year. So it's not something
really expensive.
Yeah, but you should know it. All right. What else can you tell us? Give us some good tips for beginners that want to get to Greece, and you have anything in mind that you said, don't do this, do this? Or...
No, there aren't any do or don't. Most important is to know what exactly you are looking for. And then you need to find a good team to work with and trust, and I think that everything will go smoothly and good. Greece has a lot to offer, meaning you can find properties in big cities, you can find properties in villages. During winter, we have a lot of people going there. You can buy in the islands with 6 months a year full with tourists. Long-term leases, Airbnbs, you can find everything you want. And most important is to feel comfortable with the procedure and feel good with what you need to work with later on, meaning managing a property.
Yeah.
So if you are more risky, you can work with Airbnbs. If you are more conservative, you can choose long-term leases.
Is there a problem to do it Airbnb? Because I heard in the past was a restriction from the government about Airbnb, or...
Well, they're trying to.
They're trying to.
They're trying to, but
Okay.
we can always find a way to overcome laws.
Yeah, of course. This is why we're here. All right. I would like to ask you a personal question, if it's okay. Like, where you invest your money? Do you buy real estate?
Also in real estate.
Yeah.
Yes.
Here in Athens, or you buy
I
also
started
abroad?
in Athens, and now I'm looking to great villages in the mountains, and later on I will see in the islands.
Nice. Okay, so you're getting better every year.
Yes.
Perfect. So how people can get in touch with you?
Well, they can find me via LinkedIn, through you, hopefully.
Yes.
And I think I haven't checked recently, but they can find also my details in the Israeli embassy, the site of the Israeli embassy, because I've been working with an attorney in Israel, so I had a contact through her. And since recently, also my contacts were written there in the list of lawyers that you can contact in Greece in case of need. So hopefully they're still there.
Okay. But anyway, we will list your name in the comments of the podcast.
Thank you.
So first of all, thank you very much for your time. Thank you very much for everything you've done for me. You opened my bank account in the past. You're dealing with everything, and I'm really happy that we are still in touch, and you're helping with my properties here. And that's it, I think. You want to say something for the Israeli people that are sitting back in Israel now? Or?
Please come on to Greece, invest your money here. We're ready to assist you in everything you need.
Okay, so Efcharisto.
You are welcome, Parakalo. It's always nice to see you.
Yes, of course. And we will keep in touch. Thank you very much for your time. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.